heads of government and heads of our political parties. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Frelimo.
Muito obrigado. Nós, a delegação de Moçambique, queremos, em primeiro lugar, saudar os nossos presidentes, chefes de Estado, que confirmaram, através das suas intervenções, a importância deste encontro. Queremos saudar a força que deram à nossa região para resistir contra tentativas de destruir os nossos sonhos, que lutamos pelas nossas independências e acabamos com o apartheid. É gratificante ouvirmos a vontade que os nossos chefes do Estado apresentaram de que este órgão não seja somente um órgão para nos reunirmos, mas seja um órgão que vai dar energia, força, para que os nossos países vergam pela defesa das nossas independências, mas muito particularmente que esta reunião sirva para fortificar as nossas ideologias. Queremos saudar a vontade de que devemos estar juntos, como alguém diz que se quer andar sozinho, vai sozinho. Não sei se é isso. Se quer chegar depressa, vai sozinho. Mas se quer chegar ao destino, podemos ir juntos. Portanto, queremos saudar esta força que estão a dar à região. Esta região foi liberta graças a um sacrifício dos melhores filhos das nossas terras. Sacrificaram-se. E temos um dever histórico de transmitir à juventude para que assuma o passado de ontem como se fosse o passado de hoje, para os desafios para a independência econômica. Saudamos a esta união dos nossos dirigentes, dos nossos presidentes, e dissemos, como sempre, a luta continua. Obrigado.
Thank you very much, SWAPO.
Thank you very much. My name is Pean Shelenga. I come from SWAPO. I would just like to pose a question to our leaders. We have seen that over the past years, there have been that concerted efforts by the imperialists to unseat the liberation movements. How are we preparing the coming generations to face this battle, because the current generation will not be there in the long run. In SWAPO party, for example, we have a structure called the SWAPO Pioneers Movement, whereby very small children are brought into the party structures and being nurtured and molded to appreciate the doctrines and ideologies of the party. Now, what is our coordinated approach, the collective coordinated approach, to ensure that we prepare the coming generations to face that onslaught that is facing our movements? Thank you.
Thank you very much, MPLA.
Muito obrigada. Eu sou a Joana Tomás, a secretária-geral da OMA, a Organização Feminina do MPLA. Nós, em primeiro lugar, queremos agradecer a realização deste evento, que dá uma fotografia real de como estão os nossos partidos políticos. Costuma-se dizer que quando se sofre sozinha, a dor é só sua. E muitas vezes não encontras a melhor solução. Mas quando transmites para os outros o seu sofrimento, consegues realizar e resolver o seu problema com o apoio dos outros. Estamos aqui neste encontro com os partidos políticos libertadores. Acreditamos e temos acompanhado que os problemas são iguais. As nossas divergências internas, os nossos pensares diferentes, que nos colocam distante daquele que são os ideais dos nossos pais que lutaram pela independência e pela liberdade. Queremos saudar a realização deste evento, que mais uma vez nos chama a atenção de que somos filhos do mesmo continente e lutamos contra o colonizador português e temos que continuar a consolidar as nossas conquistas e a trabalhar para o bem das nossas populações. Nós defendemos encontros regulares para juntos pensarmos o nosso continente, para juntos pensarmos os nossos países. Aqui a nossa vice-presidente disse o seguinte: se queres chegar depressa, vá sozinho. Mas se queres ir mais longe, vai na companhia dos outros. Este é o nosso pensar e este é o nosso pensar real. Queremos aqui também defender a realização periódica de encontros desta natureza, porque os problemas só são diferentes por estarem a acontecer em outros países, mas na essência, na ênfase, na essência, são iguais. Então temos que estar cada vez mais unidos para não permitir que o neocolonialismo volte a dominar os nossos países e nos tornar dependentes. Temos que estar mais unidos e trabalhar também para fortalecer as alianças e a solidariedade, porque a solidariedade é o que nos uniu no passado e é o que deve permanecer para continuarmos a liderar os nossos países. Nós defendemos também que, a nível das mulheres, possamos ter, e com a permissão das lideranças que estão aqui, encontros permanentes, porque costuma-se dizer que quando se cuida dos problemas, costuma-se dizer que deve-se dar atenção maior às mulheres, porque as mulheres são os verdadeiros pilares da sociedade. Nós, as mulheres, estamos a lutar e a conquistar o nosso espaço na política, mas precisamos de mais interação e precisamos de estar cada vez mais alinhadas para podermos resolver os problemas que afetam as mulheres a nível do nosso continente. Muito obrigada.
Thank you. ANC.
The African National Congress stands to support, to strengthen and to salute the messages that we got from our leaders in as far as solidarity is concerned with the people of Palestine, Cuba, Western Sahara, and all other progressive forces. We also support the stance by our leaders that imperialism must be thwarted with all the means that we have at our disposal. Thirdly, that the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement must be implemented, it must be quantified, and on a regular basis we must report to our people about progress we are making in as far as the Africa Free Continental Agreement is concerned. We support the call for young people to themselves stand up and make sure that they participate in making sure that they engage the national liberation movements and governments to ensure that the future of all our countries is in safe hands of our young people. Women, working together with all of us in our structures and our people. We need to work together to make sure that there's total emancipation of our women, not only in our region, but in the entire African continent. It is our hope that we will continue as national liberation movements to intensify political education, share experiences among ourselves, learn from our mistakes, and make sure that the African revolution triumphs in the end as the strategic objective that the people have struggled for and will continue to want to achieve. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those comments, comrades, because there were not so much of questions. It was comments that comrades made. I'm going to ask the first DSG to read the declaration, and then the president will then respond and sign the declaration, so that when we break for lunch, we should have covered a lot of work, because other people, I'm advised by the team here, are flying out. And we are also going to have bilateral meetings. So that is what is going to happen. SG, Obert, you want to say something? You are ambushing me, comrade. Come. You must be brief. Come.
I am coming from Palestine with a delegation. I have a veteran, his name is Karim Yunus, was released recently from Israeli jails after 40 years. Mr. President, gentlemen, we came with a broken hearts. We see that the whole world, but which is not true, as if we are alone. During the last 2 days, we heard solidarity, support, sympathy, which giving us more and more power. On behalf of the Palestinian people, I tell you all, we are very proud, we are very honored also that Africa is still committed to our justice cause. We promise you that we will not give up and we will not leave Palestine. The genocide, the starvation, the killing, the destruction is unbelievable. But we know exactly, we are on the ground. During the last 2 days, the messages are great. Mr. President, with the permission of everybody, I can tell you that you are a loyal custodian for the legacy of the liberation movements, not in Africa, but all over the world. We are going back to our people, to the Palestinians, and tell them that you are not alone. Africa with you, the whole African people with you. Best regards, thanks, salute to you all, presidents, and to your people. You are a great leader, leading also a great people. Thanks, thanks, thanks on behalf of all Palestinians. And I promise you that we will, from tomorrow, start day and night to achieve our national unity, our national reconciliation, standing behind one front, the emergence of a Palestinian independent sovereign state is a must, and this will never be achieved without national unity. National unity, recognizing the UN resolution as term of reference to settle this conflict. I do believe, I suffered from the Israelis, but I think that they have the right to live in peace and security, but within their internationally recognized borders. Otherwise, I don't think that they are not more than the same, maybe, model of what happened last century somewhere against the Jews. The concentration camps, the ethnical cleansing of the Palestinian people, it's a shame. I can't understand that the grandsons of the victims of the Holocaust doing the same against the Palestinians. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you all. Looking forward to receive you soon in Palestine, a free, independent state. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the Secretary General of Fatah movement. And I was explaining to the delegation the other day that he was the last security advisor of Comrade Yasser Arafat. Yeah, Comrade Jafril in Palestine, and till today is still standing, and standing very strong. Long live Palestine, long live. Free Palestine, free. Thank you very much. Comrades, I'm now going to invite the DSG to read us the declaration of the summit.
Thank you very much, Comrade Secretary General of the African National Congress. Celebrating the 50th anniversary of the independence of many of our countries, the Summit of Liberation Movements of Southern Africa, held from the 25th to the 28th of July 2025 here in Johannesburg, Republic of South Africa, under the theme Defending the Liberation Gains, Advancing Integrated Socio-Economic Development, Strengthening Solidarity for a Better Africa, brought together the Presidents, Secretaries General, and representatives of the historical movements and their leagues and veterans that led the struggles for freedom. These include the ANC of South Africa, the MPLA of Angola, SWAPO of Namibia, Frelimo of Mozambique, ZANU-PF of Zimbabwe, and Chama Mapinduzi of Tanzania. The summit paid tribute to the immortal legacies of our predecessors and reaffirmed our common commitment to consolidating equality, sovereignty, social justice, and the dignity of our peoples on the path to a united, developed, and fully emancipated Africa. The summit was honored by the presence of elder statesmen of our liberation movements, including Comrade Joachim Chissano, the former president of Frelimo and of Mozambique, as well as Comrade Thabo Mbeki, the former president of the ANC and of South Africa. Given the recent passing of the last SWAPO and Namibian presidents, Comrade Sam Nujoma and Hage Geingob, the summit paid tribute for their contributions in advancing the goals of the liberation struggle, whilst recognizing their promotion of Pan-Africanism, internationalism, post-colonial reconstruction, and development of Africa. The summit received messages of support from diplomatic missions, including the Republic of Cuba, as well as fraternal political parties, including the National Liberation Front of Algeria, Polisario Front of the Western Sahara, Al-Fatah of Palestine, the Sandinista National Liberation Front of Nicaragua, and the Communist Party of China, United Russia, and the Communist Party of Russia. The summit was also attended by various diplomatic corps, political institutions from the continent, such as the Pan-African Congress of Tanzania, Botswana National Front, the Pan-African Women's Organization, and Young Women of Africa. Recalling the outcomes of the 11th meeting of Secretaries General of the Liberation Movement in Southern African, which took place at the Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe on the 19th March 2024, the summit reaffirmed our shared commitment to the principles of justice, equality, and self-determination for the peoples of our region. The summit also noted the progress made by Southern African countries on social, economic infrastructure, and human development. Considering the liberation movement's unwavering dedication to the liberation, progress, and development of Southern Africa, the summit sought to consolidate the aspirations of the African peoples for national and regional unity, solidarity, and cohesion, whilst overcoming cultural and religious, ethnic, and other differences. This summit reaffirmed its commitment to consolidate the aspirations of the people of Africa for greater solidarity, unity, religious and cultural diversity, and cohesion. We remain firm in our conviction that strengthening the liberation movements will aid the effective and full emancipation of the peoples of our continent. Cognizant of our historic unity and collective struggle against slavery, colonialism, apartheid, imperialism, and all other forms of oppression, the summit noted the rise of unilateralism, unipolar tendencies, as well as right-wing, narrow political, economic nationalism, and racism. The summit further recognized the growing tendencies of populism, violent extremism, sexism, xenophobia, and other related intolerances, which are contributing to the weakening of global progressive forces. Acknowledging that the challenges of socio-economic inequality, underdevelopment, conflict, political instability, external interference in our domestic affairs, including unilateral sanctions, interference in electoral processes, and internal weaknesses, have contributed to the reversal in our region. The summit calls for urgency in defending the gains of our liberation struggle through the implementation of the program of action of the summit, which program of action seeks the advancement of integrated socio-economic development by strengthening solidarity towards political, social, and economic freedom and a better Africa. The summit hereby resolves to accelerate and coordinate the implementation of the program of action by recommitting to regional unity, which requires emphasizing our African struggles and narratives which are irrevocably interconnected to our past and our future, and the need for consistent and sustained cooperation among our liberation movements, governments, and progressive civil society organizations, such as trade unions, amongst others, and strengthening of political, economic, digital, and infrastructural integration through SADC and other platforms, creating regional industrial value chains that ensure employment, innovation, and the maximization of our resources, breaking away from the dependency on the extractive model inherited from colonialism. Protecting sovereignty and self-determination by firmly rejecting all forms of imperialism, neocolonialism, and external interference, and recommitting to be steadfast in our inherent responsibility for self-determination and to safeguard the sovereignty of our people. Advocating for digital sovereignty, recognizing that control over our data, communications, and technological infrastructures is essential for our national security and sovereignty in the 21st century and beyond. Addressing economic inequalities and facilitating for economic transformation through endorsing the Pan-Africanist perspective that our political liberation struggle is incomplete without economic liberation, which requires our countries to continue to urgently address inequalities rooted in colonial, neo-colonial, and imperial exploitation, committing to ensuring and encouraging governments to implement policies that do away with the fragmented and extractive economic architecture to one that addresses the historical injustices committed against our people, including, amongst others, promoting equitable land distribution, industrialization, sustainable development, and inclusive and shared economies. Also pledging to combat corruption and illicit financial flows, which fundamentally undermines the gains of our liberation struggles. Deepening our advocacy for economic transformation of our region, which includes but is not limited to land reform, agrarian justice, and frameworks for equitable and inclusive socio-economic development that dismantle structural inequality and uplifts the working class and the poor. Our liberation is incomplete without economic sovereignty and justice for the oppressed. Promoting regional and continental integration that requires recommitting to the Pan-Africanist principle of regional and continental economic integration as a means to ensure the complete liberation of our region and continent. Reaffirmation of the ideals of the AfCFTA, in which end we pledge to deepen our cooperation and promote intra-Africa trade. Deepening our climate justice and sustainable development agendas, to which end the summit reiterated the liberation movement's commitment to climate justice and demanded that the countries historically responsible for emissions take their responsibility through adequate funding and technology transfer for adaptation, mitigation, and compensation for losses and damages, ensuring that the burden of the climate crisis does not disproportionately fall on our people. Recognizing the role played by women in the struggle, as well as the dimensions of oppression confronted by women, which include racial, gender, and class oppression that requires further gender mainstreaming. Thus, the summit called for the deepening of gender mainstreaming as it is cardinal to inclusive political, social, cultural, and economic development and justice. This requires more gender-responsive governance, policy making, and budgeting, with a particular focus on the elimination of economic, structural, and patriarchal barriers which more adversely affect rural, single, and widowed women. The summit reaffirmed its zero tolerance for gender-based violence and femicide, as well as the need to improve the quality and respect for human rights, including the rights to education, reproductive health, and development. In furthering some of these rights, the summit called for the 50-50 representation and the upward revision of the minimum age of marriage for girls and for policies that encourage the presence and participation of more young women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. To these ends, we commit to working with women to advance solutions together by, amongst others, including women in peace missions and panels of eminent persons. We also call on governments and civil society to mainstream, create safe, secure environments for all women and girls. This will include women-led advocacy initiatives to promote the moral fiber of our societies and communities as facilitated by the envisaged Women's Forum. Facilitating youth development and empowerment through recognizing the revolutionary and integral role played by young people in our liberation struggles and including them as equal partners in harnessing their creativity, innovations, and energies. These must be complemented by political education and all of society initiatives in innovation, scientific research, entrepreneurship, and creative industries as essential drivers for structural transformation of our economy. Summit committed to rebuilding vibrant youth-led structures within our movements to secure the generational transmission of our revolutionary principles, including unity, Pan-Africanism, non-racialism, non-sexism, whilst locating the youth at the center of these struggles. This will be foregrounded by political education schools hosted by the youth leagues of the liberation movements with support from institutions such as the party schools, as the Mwalimu Julius Nyerere School, Chitepo School of Ideology, and O.R. Tambo School of Leadership, which ought to be digitized. Summit recognized the power of culture and sports in uniting the youth and called on the youth leagues and young wings to support the creation of a liberation movement youth festival that should be supported by the envisaged Liberation Movement Youth Development Fund, complement the Liberation Movement Summits, and feature cultural exchange, music, arts, sports, and political education. Empowering liberation war veterans through recommitting to adopting economic and social promotion policies that dignify, value, and turn veterans into active agents and soldiers of economic and social development in our struggle for the economic independence of the region against neocolonialism and identified collective challenges. The summit committed to ensure that the veterans play an integral role in political education and youth mentorship programs to instill the liberation movement's values and discipline in the younger generation. The summit welcomed the recommendation for the creation of a confederation of war veterans in the region as a platform for permanent consultations in alignment with our policies. On strengthening peace and stability, we further committed to resolving conflicts within our region peacefully through dialogue and cooperation. Consequently, call on all parties in Southern Africa to uphold democratic principles and respect for human rights as a foundation for lasting peace and stability. On preserving the legacy of liberation as custodians of the region's heritage, we therefore pledge to ensure that the history of our liberation struggle is preserved for future generations. We commit to collectively and bilaterally ensure that the liberation history is not eroded in curricula and will identify and preserve the liberation routes used by our freedom fighters to educate our people about these roots and transform them into historic awareness tourism products to also benefit and uplift the affected communities. We also applaud the progress recorded by the Mwalimu Julius Nyerere Leadership School as the apex political education institution in our region and call on all liberation movements to support and fully utilize its capabilities and capacity. On further advancements of international solidarity with struggles beyond our borders, since our liberation movements drew inspiration and support from global struggles for justice, in the same spirit, we continue to express our solidarity with oppressed peoples globally, particularly in Palestine, Western Sahara, and other regions still facing colonial occupation, imperial subjugation, and unilateral sanctions. We denounce the crimes against humanity, destabilization, genocide, and ethnic cleansing by the apartheid state of Israel. We continue to support the peoples of Western Sahara and Palestine for their right to self-determination. We condemn the economic blockade against Cuba, the unilateral sanctions against Zimbabwe, and the threat of sanctions against South Africa. We stand with all progressive movements still fighting for peace, dignity, freedom, equality, sovereignty, and self-determination, and recommit to strengthening international solidarity with progressive forces worldwide. Supporting the multilateralism, the AU, G20 presidency of South Africa, and expand the role of the region in other platforms such as BRICS. As we advance multilateralism and the democratization of the institutions for global governance and causes a shift for unilateralism to multilateralism in a multipolar world, we reaffirm the central role of the AU as the unified voice of the continent. Noting that the AU now formally represents our collective interest as a member of the G20, we urge that G20 take firm and concrete decisions to end poverty, hunger, inequality, and to improve climate financing, resolve external debt issues, strengthen policies and systems to address illicit financial flows, as well as agree on frameworks for fairer financing for development. We also call for the utilization of other platforms such as G20 and BRICS to advance the principles of solidarity and equality, sustainability, and regional integration to leverage for the economic development and aspirations of the region. On strengthening accountability and introspection of our liberation movements, in the meeting the objectives of this declaration, we are committed to ongoing and honest introspection about the internal challenges of our movements, including corruption, complacency, disunity, and fragmentation. Further, we agreed to institutionalize the meetings of the summit, to convene this summit of national liberation movements at regular intervals, at least every 2 years, on a rotational basis. The summit further commits to have a coordination mechanism to ensure implementation of resolutions between summits through regular meetings of Secretaries General, which will be complemented by sector, leagues, and wings-based conferences, gatherings, and institutional mechanisms. In advancing the intentions and resolutions of the summit and this declaration, we task the triad of Secretaries Generals, treasuries, and heads of our political education to finalize and finance the first 5-year program of action within the next 3 months of the conclusion of this summit. The program of action must pay urgent attention, strategic priority to defending and consolidating the gains of our liberation, confronting imperialism, neocolonialism, and geopolitical subversion, and charting a radical new path of socio-economic transformation driven by grassroots mobilization, regional integration, and people-centered development, amongst others. We reaffirm the importance of good governance, accountability, and strengthening of our democratic institutions, as well as free and fair elections as essential foundations to ensure the trust of the people and the sustainability of our historical project. As we conclude this summit, we take the opportunity to applaud the progress recorded in the Southern African region, which has been recorded in spite and despite exogenous and indigenous challenges and the adverse global geopolitical dynamics. We also take pride and recognize the leadership role given by the AU to the presidents of Angola, Mozambique, and South Africa, respectively, as the current AU chair, champion for climate change and champion for infrastructure. We further renew our commitment to the revolutionary ideals that have guided us since the early days of our struggle. United in action, we will build a vibrant, resilient, and sovereign Southern Africa. We call on all civil society organizations and the peoples of Southern Africa to join the continued struggle for a just, equal, sovereign, free, peaceful, political stability, and prosperous region. Together, we will focus our attention on the economic liberation of our people. The summit agrees to pay special attention in our struggle for economic emancipation, education, skills development, and job creation for our young men and women, and strengthen their role and voices in policy making and implementation. We'll build a Southern Africa that fulfills the dreams and aspirations of our people. Let us unite in action to address the challenges we face. The summit is appreciative for the time set aside by the leadership and delegates of the summit, as well as the warm reception and hospitality of the African National Congress of South Africa and the people of the Republic of South Africa. This is the declaration of this summit held here in Ekurhuleni in the province of Gauteng. Thanks, Comrade Chair.
Thank you very much, DSG. A round of applause once more. I'm now going to ask for the declaration and ask heads of delegation and presidents to advance here to the podium to sign the declaration. Where's the pen? Or is the Secretary General who are signing? Okay, Secretary. SGs, can you advance for the signing of the declaration? I will now invite the SGs to come in front of the political principals to show that we did really sign properly the declaration for a photo opportunity. I was Puma Glefai. Le file special. Okay. We can stand. Thank you very much. Comrades, we are now have arrived on the part where we will be giving pleasantries, and that will be led by President Ramaphosa. We are going to call onto the stage the former president of the ANC and the Republic of South Africa, to the stage, Comrade President Thabo Mbeki, to receive a gift. Yes, President. From the President of the ANC. Thank you very much. The next will be to Tanzania, Chama Chama Pendus. To the President. We now presenting to Angola, Deputy President. Thank you. That was MPLR. We now present to Frelimo. We now will present to SWAPO. And then we now present to ZANU-PF, Zimbabwe. Okay, no, thank you very much. Now, President Ramaphosa will be given gifts. He will receive a gift from Chama Chama, Pendus. Yeah, that looked like a bag of Mamelodi Sundowns, but it's not. It's a very serious gift there inside. Thank you very much. And then President will receive a gift as well from Angola. Will be presented by the Vice President to President Ramaphosa. Yes. Now it is Frelimo, Mozambique. This is
Mozambique, Tanzania, and Namibia.
Yeah. This is Mozambique. No, there's Mozambique.
MPLA is given to Mozambique.
Oh, okay.
And it's given to Namibia also.
Okay. Now we'll have MPLA delivering to Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and so on. Comrades, come forward. The next place. And what? So confusing. From MPLR to President Nandi. The Deputy President will present to the President of Zimbabwe. MPLR to Zimbabwe. The Women's League will now present of the ANC South Africa, the President and the SG will present pleasantries to the President of Namibia, Comrade Nandi. Thank you. And then we'll now have Fatah. They want to present a token of appreciation to the President of the ANC. Thank you very much. We will now invite President Mnangagwa will present a token, of pleasantry to the President of South Africa. Thank you very much. Bahlekazi, le present bekufuna kize kum. Oh, SGs, why ndingabanikezi ngokuziphi? Yeah, call the SGs. We give them. At the go. Comrade SGs, can you come and get your gifts from us?
Because of the jet lag.
Thank you very much, comrades. It gives me a great joy to come to the end of this important summit. President of the ANC and President of South Africa, His Excellency Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, President of SWAPO, and President of Namibia, Her Excellency President Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwa, President of Frelimo and President of Mozambique, His Excellency President Daniel Chapo, President of ZANU-PF and the President of Zimbabwe, His Excellency President Emerson Mnangagwa, former President of the ANC and South Africa, President Thabo Mbeki, former President of Frelimo and Mozambique, Comrade President Joaquim Chissano, secretaries generals of our liberation movements, veterans and elders of our struggle, leaders and delegates, representatives of fraternal parties from across the world, members of the diplomatic corps, comrades and compatriots. It is with deep revolutionary pride and sense of duty that I deliver the closing remarks of this historic summit of the liberation movements of South Africa. This has not been merely been a meeting, it has been a rekindling of the sacred fire lit by our forebears. Their legacy demands not passive remembrance but bold action. Our task is to write the unfinished chapters of their struggle. As the ANC, we thank the liberation movements for giving us an opportunity to lead and chair the Secretariat of the Liberation Movement. Today we have delivered the summit in the presence of our leaders. We are grateful for having played a part in ensuring that we keep the liberation movements alive. Over the past 4 days, the ANC, alongside our sister movements, Frelimo, MPLA, SWAPO, ZANU-PF, and CCM, has engaged in profound reflection and recommitment. We have revisited the epic chapters of our past. We have adopted the declarations that we have adopted here today. We want to thank the following. We want to thank all our sister parties for making it possible for us to have this summit. And thank you very much to all the secretaries general and presidents of our sister parties for making this a great, great success. Thank you indeed. We want to thank the media for covering this summit live from the beginning since we started up until today. So thank you, media, for doing a great job and covering our story. We want to thank the technical teams that were working on the summit, Comrade DSG1 of the ANC and all the team, all the volunteers, all the musical groups, cultural groups that were working here and supporting our summit with the RDP of the soul, musically. Thank you very much for participating. And we want to thank our former elders, Comrade Joachim Chisano, President, and President Thabo Mbeki for gracing this important summit. Thank you very much. Aluta continua. And all our sister parties across the globe, from Cuba, Nicaragua, Sandinista in Nicaragua, Palestine, Sahrawi, the Communist Party of China, the Russian Federation, and the Russian Communist Party. I think I've mentioned all who came and graced this important occasion. Thank you very much for attending this summit. We will now want to invite Tanzania as they take over from the ANC. We want to thank the cooperation of everyone we have worked with, Secretary General, since we took over from Zimbabwe. Comrade Obert Mpofu, Dr. Obert Mpofu, in Victoria Falls. And thank you very much for your cooperation and everyone for making this summit and our working relations even easier and quite effective. So, thank you very much as we come to the conclusion. And now I'm going to invite our comrade from Tanzania, Comrade Pinda, to give us a few remarks as he take over from the ANC to coordinate and to head the work of the liberation movement. I hope we treated you well, comrade, and you had a great time. It was an honor indeed to oversee and work with the liberation movements. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies and comrades, I've been given this opportunity, and I was trying to find out from the big boss behind me. I said, what am I going to tell them? He said, just acceptance speech. I said, oh, wow. If that is the case, then there's no problem. But allow me, I just want to say a little bit about the school. It was made in reference here. All that I would say is, it's a very lucky community, the 6 brother countries, 6 parties. We are united from the cause which made us come together, and that was liberation. Ever since, we've not lost each other. We are still working together. And I believe what has actually come out of this particular summit, there are quite a number of things that we have captured, which, if we stand firm in implementation of some of the ideas, this community is going to grow in a very positive way. We are lucky because we are a like-minded community. And that's why I thought I should say this. And the school, the Mwalimu Julius Nyerere School, is there for this community, first and foremost. It started in 2008, probably some of you know that. Because it took time before it was completed. We completed it, I think, in 2022 or somewhere around there. So now it's there, ready for anything that the community wants that school to do. Lastly, I just want to thank our leaders, and particularly ANC President, for the good work they've done. Ever since we came here, it has been a pleasant stay, but at the same time, a learning stay. So let me hope that through the ANC Secretariat, and now that we've come out with a resolution, let's sit together. The earlier the better. You can co-opt one member from each member state to come now, sit down together, then come up with a program that will take us to a certain level in some of the areas which are critical. And you mentioned most of it is related to economics. So thereafter then we can say, well, we have now done well. I'm still very new to some of these functions, and it was just luck that my president could not come. And luckily they said, Mr. Pinda, go and join the elders. But I only hope that one of these days, if we don't have, we might come up with an idea of these 6 countries and the vision of the group for all those common ideas. Let them go through each one of these countries. Then through their parties, we can go now on a particular area where we want to implement this in the next 5, 10, 20, 15, whatever, long-term perspective. I'm saying if it's not there. But if it's there, then it's up to us, we who are still learning, to say, why don't you bring up to the attention now to some of us so that we can also see what has gone into it and how we should proceed. Otherwise, it was just an acceptance speech. All that I would say is congratulations to all of us for what we have earned as a community. Mzee Thabo Mbeki, I'm very glad to see you again after a long, long time. So I was looking at you, but I didn't know how exactly I would be able to say hello, how are you? But finally it happened. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, comrades. We have now arrived at the end of our successful summit. I'm going to invite the Secretaries General to come to the stage for a photo op with the presidents as we depart from here. I'm also going to ask President Mbeki to join us on the stage for a photo op. From here, we all go to the main hotel where we had our lunch. From here, all delegates and the staff and others opposite this place where you had your lunch yesterday. And then the presidents and the SGs will go to the 5th floor of the hotel. That's where lunch is prepared for us, former president, and the SGs. The rest of us will go where we had lunch yesterday. Aluta! Aluta! Long live liberation movement, long live. Thank you very much, comrades. Safe journey back home. And then all SGs on the podium for a photo op. Thank you very much. And the photographers of all sister parties, you line up here for a photo op. Thank you very much, comrades. You go where we had all the delegates, go where we had lunch.